Hello, my name is Andrew, and today we're talking about why I refuse to only post about barefoot shoes. Over the past 5 years as a YouTuber, I've gotten a lot of comments, especially at times where I'm struggling financially or struggling to get views, where people just don't understand why I don't stick to only one topic, right? Because if I only posted about barefoot shoes, for example, I would undoubtedly make more money, I would get more subscribers, more views. But the number one reason that I don't do this is simply boredom. Honestly, I think all people need variety in their life. Human beings are not meant to just be machines that just mechanically talk and post about the same things over and over and over again. But for me, especially as someone who's creative and ADHD, I have so many different interests, and I'm not joking when I say I would literally commit suicide if I was only posting about barefoot shoes. Like, don't get me wrong, I love testing out new barefoot shoes. It's fun to see what the brands have done with all the different parts and, to see what they feel like for hiking and walking and running and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, a shoe is a shoe, a boot is a boot, a sandal is a sandal, and they all have pretty much the same features with a few different tweaks. And overall, I just don't want the rest of my brain to rot away because I'm posting and talking about the same things over and over and over again. Reason number 2 is skills/knowledge, because again, as someone with a creative ADHD type personality, I not only have a lot of interest, but I also have a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience in many different things. And a lot of these things like barefoot shoes, raw primal, minimalist phones, e-ink, they just don't have that many people posting about them. So it'd be a huge loss to society, right? If I just hunkered down and only posted about barefoot shoes and never talked about anything else. And no, my subscribers aren't going to grow as fast as if I was doing things differently. But honestly, it's getting harder and harder to get people to watch videos or subscribe or do anything these days. So even if I did have multiple channels or if I only focused on barefoot shoes, I think it would still be a struggle. Reason number 3 is the idea of the one thing, which has been really important to me in my life. And basically this is like whenever you're struggling with something that feels really toxic and you've got too many of it, the best thing to do is just to take all of those things and combine them down into one. Like social media accounts, for example. I used to be on Instagram and YouTube, and I had like multiple accounts on each one. I was on Facebook and all these different platforms, and it was miserable. I was constantly having to log in and out of all of these different accounts, which was time consuming. But then it also felt like it was splitting my brain up into multiple pieces. Like I wasn't a whole person, which felt like really awful psychologically. And if you think about the way that humans lived for millions of years before we got civilized, it was in small tribes, and everyone in the tribe knows you for who you are. They don't just have these like thin slices of these different parts of your personality, which is super unhealthy and also kind of like having existential multiple personality disorder. Reason number 4 is authenticity, because whenever I see a successful YouTube channel like Matt D'Avella or Paul Saladino, where the quality of the video is really high, but they sort of just have this personality where they just post the same exact kind of content over and over and over again, whether it's minimalism or diet or exercise, it feels like I'm watching something fake. Something scripted and mechanically generated. Like the person is just so afraid that if they show any part of their actual real life, anything that they're struggling with, anything that they're unsure of, any health problems that they have, their whole subscriber base will just crumble. And yeah, that's probably true to some extent, but is that really the way that you want to live your life? Where everything is just a mask, a persona, you're never talking about anything real. For example, my friend Karen, who's 64, she's also my naturopathic practitioner. She broke her hip in a fall and she spent 48 hours on a stretcher in the hospital. She sustained a back injury because of that, and then she had the hip surgery, and now she's in rehab and the place is completely understaffed. So she's like not getting her pain medication sometimes for 4 hours, and she's just like on the border of not being able to live anymore, not being able to deal with the pain and the stress of all of it, and just being alone, having no living family to help her. So I made a GoFundMe for her, and I made a video. I posted about it. I posted another video of audio clips of the things that she's going through and how the staff is just like dismissing her problems. And I knew that doing that would lose me subscribers, but I did it anyways because number 1, it was the right thing to do, and number 2, like, this is my life. This YouTube channel is not about a mechanized persona. It's about my journey as a human being, the things I learn, the things that I'm struggling with, the people who I care about, the people who help make this channel possible. And sadly, this level of honesty is something that you just don't get from most influencers nowadays. I mean, I really find this tragic. I'd actually like to know what's going on in Paul Saladino's life. I think he's an interesting person. He has some interesting views. I may not agree with everything. And same thing for Matt D'Avella. obviously like a really creative, interesting person, but they're just not willing to show you what's really happening behind the curtain, which of course is also super unhealthy for you guys, for people watching videos, because then you're living off of this unrealistic perception of what someone's life is like, you know, a real person's life. And it destroys both sides. It destroys creators, someone like the Liver King, who is obviously very creative, a probably interesting person, but he got so addicted to the views and to the fake persona that he had to take steroids, you know, to get massively bulked up, and it ruined his life. And then on the audience side, people are getting brain rot from watching this super hyped up content. It's kind of like how National Geographic used to be a really well-respected channel with great footage and great narration and just like slow, steady pacing where you could really enjoy the details of nature. Now it's like wham, 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 cut to here, special effect, like you'd literally have to be on like cocaine to watch it. And just to be clear, like I don't have a problem with people making well-produced videos that are scripted and concise. You know, I do that for my barefoot reviews, and I think it makes them more helpful than me just sitting in front of a camera and rambling for 17 minutes. But the problem is that when that's all you do, when you never talk about anything real, when you never bring people behind the curtain to see what's actually happening in your life, you end up like a cartoon character trapped inside this box that you're too afraid to move outside of. So that's why I do what I do on my channel. I have a balance of some really well produced videos where I'm more scripted and I more have this like barefoot persona, and then I have videos like these where I'm just sitting down in front of the camera and talking about whatever comes to mind. Like the other day I came across this channel where a girl was posting updates just from her phone about being unhoused. She was doing like a day in the life of living in a shelter where she just had little audio clips of things that were going on. And she had another video about she spent the whole day wandering around trying to find someplace to charge her phone. Like that was it, you know. And everyone just kept telling her that she couldn't charge it, and, you know, kicking her out and sending her to other places. And then finally she met this one guy, you know, who just like let her plug her phone into the wall. And you just get whiplash watching a video like that and then watching something really fake like Matt D'Avella where it's just all scripted, there's nothing real going on. And while those type of creators may look happy and successful and whatnot on the surface, I think a lot of them feel really lonely and depressed because they're not being honest with who they are. Anyways, moving on, reason number 5 is cross-pollination. Like even if I could find a way to manage multiple channels and not have it feel like a huge pain in the ass or like it was compartmentalizing my personality, who I am, I still think it would be a huge loss to society, because one of the things that I love doing on my YouTube channel is connecting people to different ideas. So for example, I will get comments all the time about people saying they discovered barefoot shoes through like my zero drop guide or something, and then they discovered the minimalist phone, and then they discovered e-ink or the raw primal diet or YouTubing as a career path. And that would never happen if I was only posting about barefoot shoes, or if I had separate accounts for each, like barefoot shoes and minimalism, etc. So I consider helping people to connect all these different dots to be a really important service right now, where everyone is living more and more in these tiny little bubbles where they're not exposed to anything outside their comfort zone. So yeah, overall, if you've been wondering why I don't only post about barefoot shoes or why I don't have multiple channels, this is why. And well, I certainly don't expect people to watch every video that I post. I hope this has given you a little insight into why I do what I do. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Peace.